Hello and welcome to this introductory video to the Project Management Professional course from Ohan Egon. My name is James Ntui, your instructor. I'll be giving you a flavor of what this course is all about. I'm a 52 years old male and I've got a fairly sound academic and work background. I've been working for 27 years in the UK and in Africa with vast project management experience. I live in Accra with 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls. I love painting, tennis, jogging, and staying with my family. Enough of me. Let's get on to the nitty-gritty of this course. The course is a comprehensive course of 18 modules based on 3 publications from the PMI, the Project Management Institute of the United States, the PMBOK 6th edition. PMBOK stands for Project Management Body of Knowledge, the 7th edition, and the Agile Practice Guide. And not only these 3 publications, but we have other publications where I've got information, and from my experiences, I have put a very comprehensive course to make sure that you not only pass the PMP exam, you also be very skilled, knowledgeable in project management. On the first point, there are 5 process groups and 10 knowledge areas that we'll be looking at first under 13 modules with an injection of real life examples, 130 questions and answers after the modules. And on the second, the PMBOK side, the PMBOK 7th edition was published in July 2021, comprising of updated standards of project management, principles, performance domains. It tackles tailoring models, methods, and artifacts. I've put 4 modules on these ones with questions and answers as well. And on the last side, we're looking at Agile methodologies, Agile manifesto, and Agile principles, and how to implement Agile in an organization and also in a project. These I've compressed it in 1 module and pumped 50 questions and answers at the end. So this is a course of 18 modules and many lessons and lots of practice questions and answers and explanations and an injection of real life examples from my, say, 27 years of work experience. Now, as regards to the details of the modules and the courses, Module 1 will be looking at project management fundamentals. This is just looking at the basics of project management, defining some key terms, looking at portfolios, programs, projects, and operations, and also trying to answer the question why projects fail or succeed. The second module will be looking at the project environment. We'll be looking at organizational influences on projects. We'll be looking at environmental factors of the enterprise and key assets of the organizations that are used in projects like policies, procedures, guidelines, historical information, and things like that. We'll also be looking at different types of organizations like functional organizations, matrix organization, and projectized organizations that are out there in the world. We'll be looking at the systems that companies and organizations have created to create value, to give value to their organizations. We'll also be looking at the project management office, or what some people call the project office. We'll be looking at project governance, authority levels, and how management governs and oversees projects and coordinates them. We'll be looking also at the project team. Also in module 2, we'll be looking at project lifecycle and phases, project characteristics, and then we'll be looking at the 49 project management processes which are more tuned to what we call traditional or predictive approach to product management. And then we'll be looking at the 5 process groups and 10 knowledge areas, which in the next module I'll start talking a bit more about. We'll then look at project management data and information, constraints, assumptions and lessons learned. And then at the end of that module, we will have some 10 questions and answers, which will cover module 1 and 2. In module 3, we'll tackle the first knowledge area, which is integration management. We'll be looking at how organizations select projects, what methods they use. We'll be looking at the role of the project manager. The project manager is the manager and the leader of the project. We'll be looking at how he or she works in integration, in collaboration with everybody else, mixes everything together. I call him the orchestra conductor to make sure that the project lands in a very successful place. We'll be looking at the key document that kickstarts the project, which is the project charter, the key management plan, which is the project management plan, and its subsidiary plans. We'll be looking at how to manage project work and manage project knowledge. And we'll be looking at this key system called the integrated change control system, configuration management, and how to close a project. And then after that module, we'll have 10 sample questions and answers and explanations. In module 4, we'll be looking at the scope of a project, how the scope is defined, how we plan for scope, how we collect requirements, how we do a work breakdown structure of the scope, and how we validate and control the scope, and again 10 questions and answers to close that module. In module 5, we'll be looking at schedule management, how we plan schedule, how we define and sequence activities, what is the network diagram, and how we solve problems concerning network diagrams, because you have that in your exam. We'll be looking at how to estimate durations of activities or tasks, and how to develop and control your schedule. After module 5, another 10 questions and answers to just see how far you are catching on. Module 6 will look at money, cost management. How do we plan cost? How do we estimate cost? What are the factors affecting cost in a project? We'll be looking at how we determine the budget. Very important. Money is so important, and most projects don't handle money and time very well. So we'll be looking at how to improve on that, how to control cost, and then of course questions and answers at the end of that module. Module 7 will be looking at quality management. What are some of the quality theories out there, and we'll be looking at them. We'll be looking at how you plan quality, manage quality, and control quality in your project. And at the end of that, don't forget 10 questions and answers. Module 8 will be looking at resource management. What are some of the human resources theories, and we'll be exploring this and to see how they will be effective in project management, how we plan resources, and this is mainly people, how we acquire resources, how we estimate resources, how we develop a team, and the resource models out there. How do you manage a team, resolve conflicts, and make sure that each member of your project team has defined roles and responsibilities that they all understand? And at the end of that module, don't forget your 10 questions and answers will pop up. Module 9 will look at communications management. How do you plan communications in a project? How do you manage communications? How do you report on your performance to stakeholders, to your boss, to customers, and to your project team? How do you monitor communications? And at the end, you have your 10 questions and answers. Module 10, you will be looking at risk. We'll be defining some key terms about risk management. We'll be looking at the key inputs to risk management processes, how you plan risk, how you identify risk. You'll be looking at 2 risk analysis, qualitative and quantitative risk analysis. And then how do you respond to risk? Risk could be positive or negative, opportunities or threats. So we'll be looking also at the risk register and how to monitor risk. And then you have your questions and answers at the end of that module. Module 11 will be talking about procurement management. We'll be defining some key terms under that, how you source out your sellers, your suppliers, how you plan procurement, how you conduct negotiations in contracts and in places like that. We'll be looking at the different types of contracts, and we'll be looking at how you control purchases, how you control relationships with your suppliers, and we'll be having some answers and questions at the end of that module. Module 12, we'll be looking at a key area called stakeholder management. We'll be defining who a stakeholder is. We'll be looking at identifying stakeholders for your project, how you plan to engage them, how you'll be managing relationship with stakeholders, and how you'll be monitoring the engagement with stakeholders. And at the end, you'll be having your 10 questions and answers. And module 13 will look at professional and social responsibility. The first lesson will be on the Project Management Institute's Code of Ethics and Professional Conduct. This is a key publication from the Project Management Institute, which has guidelines, do's and don'ts in terms of respectability, in terms of responsibilities of project managers and project practitioners out there, how to be fair to people, how to respect people, how to be honest, and how to display integrity in your projects. And there'll be 10 questions and answers to close module 13. And on the part which is mainly based on the PM Box 7th edition, we'll have module 14, which will be looking at the standards for project management. We'll be defining some key terms. We'll be looking at systems that deliver value to organizations and how projects are coordinated. The 15th module will be looking at project management principles. We'll be defining what are principles, and we're looking at the different principles under project management. These are to do with stewardship, team, stakeholders, value, system thinking and leadership, tailoring and quality, complexity and risk, adaptability, resilience, and change. So there are 12 key project management principles. And in module 16, we'll be looking at the 8 performance domains in project management. But before we dive into that, we introduce ourselves to the PMI and the PM Box 7th edition, which is the latest edition that came out in July 2021. We'll look at stakeholder and team performance domains, develop approach and lifecycle and planning performance domains, project work and delivery performance domains. Lesson 5 will tackle measurement and uncertainty performance domains. Lesson 6 will look at complexity and risk and adaptability, resilience, and change. Now, module 17 will look at tailoring. How do we tailor different approaches to project management, models and methods and artifacts? We'll define tailoring in lesson 1. We'll look at the different leadership and communication models out there. We'll look at motivational change and transition models. In lesson 4, we'll look at complexity and team development models. In lesson 5, conflict negotiation and salience modules. And then there'll be some key tips on the new PMI project management professional exam. The tips regarding people, because 50% of the questions will be on people. The tips regarding processes, 42% will be on processes, and the tips regarding business environment will have 8% of our questions. And then we'll have some test questions and answers to close module 17. And on the Agile practice guide, we'll have just one module, the Agile methodology. And in lesson 1, we'll be introducing ourselves to Agile, what is Agile Manifesto and the principles surrounding Agile. We'll look at the first Agile methodology, which is Scrum, and then we'll look at Kanban and extreme programming methodologies. We'll also look at behavior-driven development, BDD, Crystal and Kanban. We'll look at feature-driven development and dynamic systems, and then we'll have, in lesson 7, we'll have some less known ones like Agile Up and so on. In lesson 8, we'll look at uncertainty and lifecycle selections in projects. Lesson 9, we'll look at how to implement Agile. And then in lesson 10, we'll now map the knowledge areas of the PMBOK 6th edition. The 10 knowledge areas, we'll map them to the Agile work process. And in lesson 11, we'll be looking at the Agile principles and mapping them to the Agile practice guide. And then there'll be 50 test questions and answers, which will be grouped in 5 groups. So that is the content of the course. Now, why would you want to do this course? for two key reasons, very important. To pass the PMP exam and have that great accreditation under your belt, and two, to improve your project management knowledge, skills, and expertise. Very important. This is an in-depth course. This is not your normal run-of-the-mill course. We are not here just to get you to pass the exam. We want you to be able to pass the exam and be able to make a change from day one when you hit the ground running managing your projects. Now, why should you become a PMP? The first reason is to achieve personal and organizational goals. And number two, we find that worldwide, only 10% of all project practitioners, people who exercise their trade on projects, are certified. This is very low, very, very low. I always ask the question, would you allow somebody who just has 3 years work experience or 3 years in medical school, didn't complete the course in medicine, didn't get a certificate, didn't graduate, would you allow that person to operate on your loved one who is critically sick? Of course not. But we are handing over projects worth millions of dollars, hundreds of and tens of thousands of dollars to people who are not certified. No wonder we had such a poor performance on projects worldwide. So by doing this course, you'll be increasing that percentage of people who are certified and practicing in projects. Project management professional allows you to speak a common language with other project practitioners out there in the world. The fourth reason is you'll be able to achieve repeatable and predictable results. It enhances your innovation and your creativity, improves your performance on the field, and it strengthens your competitive advantage. You'll be recognized for your improved knowledge, skills, and abilities. You achieve a lot in your career. You open doors for you. You advance in your career. You earn more money. On average, surveys have shown that in the US, people with a PMP earn 25% more than people without a PMP working in project management. The PMP reflects achievement. It builds your self-confidence, your self-belief, and your self-esteem. It's a global passport. It allows you to work in projects anywhere in the world and in any field in the world. And lastly but not least, the PMP accreditation is ISO certified. Now, this is important. There are just over 1 million project management professionals in the world. Please increase that number. The exam requirements need you to have at least a high school diploma and 5 years exposure on a project management on the field, or 7,500 hours leading and directing projects. You need to demonstrate 35 hours of having done project management education. Trust me, what this course will give you is a lot more than 35 hours. And you need to have, if you have a bachelor's degree or equivalent or more, you'll be required to have 4,500 hours leading and managing projects, and of course 35 hours of project management education. The membership to the PMI is $129 a year. The exam fees are $405 per member, and if you're not a member, it's $555. So if you do your maths, it pays to be a member before you sit for your exam. In terms of the questions, there'll be 180 questions. About 50% of them from the predictable or traditional approach, which is mainly covered in PM Box 6, and 50% will be more agile or hybrid, which is a mixture of predictable and agile. 50%, which is mainly PM Box 7 and the Agile Practice Guide. Now, as far as the total number of questions are concerned in the new exam, 50% will be looking at processes, and 42% on people, and only 8% on the business environment. Now, in conclusion, like I said, this course is going to attain two objectives. One, for you to become a PMP, and two, to increase your project management knowledge, skills, and expertise. This is an in-depth course. There's much information to be covered, a lot of reading and practice involved. And the exam is based on situational and practical questions. So you are welcome. I thank you for listening to me, and I'll see you next time. Thank you very much.